Let us know how the audio is.
What's up, boys?
What's up? Long distance.
High five. Okay, so we found out the first failure in this system.
All right, we have a first failure. What's up, Frank Tomaszewski? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the fireside chat.
Feels very much like it.
It feels like it, right? We're trying something different. We're swinging for the fences. You're right. This is also, it's not as comfortable, I'm going to be honest.
It's testing in production, I believe.
But what this is this is Cigar Talk Live. We're changing it up a little bit. We want to see if we want to try something different for you. This is our Tuesday get-together where we get to sit and pair things. And we get to sit and have a cigar with you, and we get to sit with beautiful people and learn and get into conversation and give you an understanding of what smoking a cigar in a cigar lounge is. This evening, we have a tremendous guest. We have two tremendous guests.
Yes.
And I'm equally excited for both of you to be sitting here and for you guys to get to know each other, because I think you guys are going to see so eye to eye.
Pops already built me up. Like I'm already fangirling over here.
Stage center right, we have Alex Baptista. Someone say whiskey. Will you please give these fine folks your life in 90 seconds?
First time caller, long time listener.
Wow.
So originally from Brazil, somehow settled into this great fair nation as quickly as I could. And now I'm a VP of sales for a software company, which is my job that actually produces revenue. On the side, taking up time is Someone Say Whiskey and Unallocated Spirits.
So you're not a fan of free time is what you're saying?
You think I would because I don't have kids, because that's all I really have. But then I just filled it with a bunch of other stuff.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. Junior Soul Train, you've been on here before.
I have been on it before.
Have you thought about the 90-second pitch?
I have not thought about the 90 seconds.
What's yours?
Avid cigar smoker, still learning. I am. I don't know. I'm in awe, man. This is like just the 90 seconds of this, and I'm meeting great people. That's what that is. Is that I'm obviously in sales as well, but on the retail side of it.
Thank you, by the way.
But and I'm working on that.
Yes. Basically, all of this is because of him.
Yeah.
It's looking fresh to death. That's hard work.
Appreciate that.
But I roll cigars for therapy, and I just love meeting people. That's probably my life, is that people are making me better just meeting them.
Amen to that. Bobs, you've never been asked your 90 seconds.
Let's see.
You can't start it off with
I know
where you were going to start with the
going.
1979 classic, the first line of The Jerk.
Of The Jerk, yes.
Yeah,
but
I grew up before Black Child. Ed, did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so, I knew we connected.
Born, raised in Omaha, Nebraska, and life, grew up, got in trouble, didn't get in trouble, got caught, didn't get caught. Then I had kids and decided to be a dad, and then sold some shit in the middle of that. So other than that, I ended up in Texas 10 years ago. Drug you guys down here, and I guess it's been 11 years now. But anyway, we're having a good old time.
Touching story. Will you hand me that fire, please?
In the air.
Thank you. What's up, Alex?
I'm just at odds with everything that's going on right now. No, I am curious though. What drove you to Texas other than a car? Because that's the smart ass response.
What drove me to Texas was my best friend has an oil company, and in 2009 the market collapsed, and he was convinced it was his marketing, and so he had me come down. I had a marketing company like Brandon's. Go Local Group is just his is much better than mine was, and I faked it until I made it. He actually produces real stuff.
Well, because he taught me some shit.
But anyway, I came down here and realized real quick the issue was not the product and it was not the marketing. It was his salespeople, and I have experience managing salespeople, so managed to.
You mean managing children?
Managing children,
That's
and they were very overpaid children. So I managed to get rid of some of them, and I managed to cut the pay of the other ones, and they hated me for a long time. Still do, I think. But
I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, but I learned to get over that a long time ago.
Yeah, short story for the both of us is just opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's.
You mean Nebraska's not a bastion of opportunity?
Look, I can draw you a map of the day I left, and it's the same map that exists there today, 12 years later.
But did they add a stoplight?
They've got a couple stoplights and a couple new apartment
That's progress.
buildings.
You can't have that.
Look,
can't have that.
they
Drive
they
straight
live
through.
by the 1% rule. You know, you get better 1% every day, but they just kind of stretch that out. 1% a year, we're all right. That's where they live.
Yeah.
So not a bastion of opportunity, but we both came down for opportunities, and they made our family closer and closer. So
I'm glad y'all did.
likewise,
Yeah,
as
I'm
we
glad
sit
y'all
here,
did.
as we
Me
sit here
too.
for sure.
Me
It's
too.
wild. Yeah, it's by the way, for those of you who are watching, make sure you hit that comment, the like, the share, the social things. May I ask
Let's
you?
also
may I ask
welcome
you-
our friends from Someone Say Whiskey. Hopefully that has been shared out, and our friends from Someone Say Whiskey, a long-time relationship that we've enjoyed.
What I'm going to do is bashfully ask you for maybe a pour of something that you have sitting here, maybe your own brand.
I could
of
do
thing?
that. I could do that. I hear you, but you're now getting into the agave spirits, tequilas.
I enjoy a little bit.
Mezcals?
Yep, by marriage, I have to. Because she's only
married
she's
into
from
tequila?
I'm
That's
married
fair.
into tequila and mariachi, which is 35 minutes away from Ollie's house.
so we can fresh crack this because I actually just killed a bottle yesterday. So we'll get into this new.
Do you
one.
drink?
you had this before?
I have not had that before.
You
Okay,
drink,
so
though,
I've-
right?
Yes.
Rodney gave me one bottle
we
of
need
this
we need
about
do
2
we need
years
enough
ago.
Glasses? Do we have enough glasses?
You know what?
That one's there for you.
Do you have a
Just the one
Glen,
more.
Blake? Oh, look at that. All right, we're going to get you taken care of. We've got unallocated spirits. Will you talk about what this is, what the journey is of creating your own brand, maybe some of the challenges that are there?
Yeah, challenges I would recommend to anybody who's sane to not do it. It really came down to an opportunity that. Ooh,
Oh, how is
that
it?
fresh crack.
How is it? Thank you.
I'm gonna hand this to you whenever you're ready, boss.
We've got a
So-
glass coming soon.
When we had Someone Say Whiskey up and running, we were given an opportunity to get some unique barrels, and so how could we pass something up like that? They said, yeah, okay, so what brand are you going to be releasing it under? So what do you mean? You don't just take it and put it in fancy jugs with finger holes and pass them out? And they said, no, you don't. We said, oh, all right, so what do we have to do? You're like, well, you have to create a brand. I said, great. Now what? They said, well, we have to market the brand. So we went to a design company, started to get together some ideas, like what do we really want to be? We wanted to be something modern, something lively. So we got the color scheme from that.
It is kick-ass.
And they said, what's the name of the company? We said, I thought that's what you did. You don't just tell us that? They're like, no. So after multiple iterations, multiple nights of considering, we actually got all the admins of Someone Say Whiskey on a call. We all got plastered, and it just came out from that.
Brainstorm.
Yeah, that's what that's brainstorming. Yep.
Brainstorm. You
is
melted your
is
minds.
that actually called plastered, or what did you go with the branding?
We considered for that one,
Or
but we landed on unallocated as a kind of tongue-in-cheek because we knew we were never going to be producing the 30,000 cases that
What's up,
some of
Chris
these
Bennington?
big brands do, and we really wanted to kind of not take ourselves too seriously. So unallocated is either not allocated or yet to be allocated. So we went with that. Released it. The first one sold out in like 3 minutes. The second release was a light whiskey. That one sold out in like 2.5. And then we finally released a much larger batch of batch 2. It's actually up on sealbox.com for sale too.
Oh, really?
So, so it didn't sell out in 1.5.
No, we kind of overcompensated for that.
Okay,
And went much
you decided to have months and months and months of inventory. Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
It's called a knee jerk. You gotta see where the guardrails are at.
Yeah, we found them.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
Thank you.
It's very
is.
enjoyable.
Yes.
It's very round. It's got good bite to it. It's got complexity to it.
I actually think it stands up to a cigar pretty well. And that's one of the things I've learned. I know we're talking about bringing some really cool pairings to the great people of ICC and Someone Say Whiskey with cigars and spirits. And I learned that there are certain spirits that will just not stand up to the robustness of a cigar.
agreed.
And you really need to find something that balances it. And it doesn't always have to be high proof either. It's just something that has complexity. There's a Dalmore cigar malt that's 80 proof. Stands up great to it.
So tasty.
Yeah. So I think it is something that can be enjoyed neat. It can be enjoyed on the rocks, add water. We don't really care. The kind of one of our brand mantras is like, we want to bring it to you the way the barrel wanted it to go. Cask strength, unadulterated, non-chill filtered. So from the barrel, filtered in the bottle.
It's cool. It's unique.
Yeah.
Very well done.
It's been fun. For me, it was like I kind of got into the cigar world. I'm still very new at it, the whiskey world, because I just like to always learn. And they were two subjects where you will never exhaust the amount of information that you have to learn.
You know, speaking of information to learn, I just learned right now from Chris Pennington, who's coming in. Just listen to the message that Chris Pennington just put together. Brandon Frakes, sorry this is so public, but if I fly you to Belize at the end of March, will you marry Whitney and I in Belize? Bitch, I need more than 2 weeks. It's March tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, maybe. Maybe let's
You
talk.
can do it by a Zoom call. I'm really
So
making
look,
you
at the end of the day, regardless, I've got a cigar for you because that's the best comment of the night. And
Already. Yeah.
already, it's definitely early. So talk to me. What's something that is the biggest lesson you've learned when it comes to launching your own whiskey brand?
I would say we, the team of 3 other very talented individuals that are alongside me on this journey, learned that as soon as you have a plan, just forget it because it's going to go sideways and off the rails, and you have to adapt and be able to be nimble and agile and pivot quickly, because if you get locked into, well, this isn't what we planned, this is not what we thought, then you're going to be stuck in a rut for the entire time.
That's true.
That's a life lesson though, right?
That is a major life lesson.
I mean, that feels like something that Junior would tell me is.
Well, I mean, think about it. We had a plan, right? It was going to be at a table, and things kind of changed, and we had to improvise. You're seeing that in the moment right now.
Yeah. But Ed wouldn't move. So what are we going to do?
Ed said he wasn't getting up.
He was so nice about it. You guys want me to move? And he was such a gentleman about it. But you're right. I mean, that's a good life lesson, right? It's just have a plan, but be ready to pivot.
Yeah, we've also, I think this will be the first time telling this story live. This is one of our biggest lessons. We've talked about it in a couple, but this is coming first time live here, recorded. Okay. So we actually had an opportunity to get a lot of products, like tankers worth of product. Found an investor, had to put millions in escrow to make this purchase. And we were working with a barrel broker, and they kept saying, you know, we've got the bourbon, we got it already, we got the samples of it, we tried it. It was a little flat. We were like, I think this is something we can work with. Maybe we'll double barrel it, put it in another barrel, get some more complexity out of it. And we get all the millions in escrow. We're working now directly with the producer of the spirit. And we talk about, well, when will these tankers of bourbon arrive? And you keep saying bourbon. You know this is corn whiskey, right? And we were like, no, because everything on our paperwork says bourbon. Bourbon is distinctly different than corn whiskey. And it turned out that we'll go with the polite thing and say a mistake by the barrel broker to call it bourbon. But we would have had the most expensive corn whiskey on the planet.
Wow. You could have called it bait and switch. It would have been the perfect brand. Yeah. Perfect brand.
Yeah.
The bait and switch, that would have been good.
Lean into it.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Wow. Yeah, it would have been like a life-changing decision. Had it actually been bourbon at that amount of quantity, we would have been set for forever. It was a lot.
So what's your biggest takeaway of that moment? Is double check?
People should read more closely when they're telling you things.
Yes.
I'd say, like, I try to assume positive intent in everybody.
Yeah.
It was a new gal that was the salesperson. Maybe she didn't know that bourbon is distinctly different than corn whiskey. Bourbon has to be a new charred oak. Corn whiskey doesn't. And that's why the flavor wasn't there from a complexity standpoint, because it was probably in used barrels. But that was a big lesson. We also have learned that the Tax and Trade Bureau, which approves labels, are not smart. And there are like 3 or 4 people there that can make or break your future as a brand or as a label, to the point to where we were arguing with them on one of our labels. We had their own standards in front of us and showed them that, and they disagreed. And then we showed them 12 other labels that were approved that were just like ours. And they said, great, we're going to revoke those approvals.
Whoa. That's ruining somebody's picnic after they already started.
Whoa.
We were able to get, we Karen'd them and got a manager, and they recognized the mistake, and that didn't have to happen. But it was definitely.
It's amazing what happens when you give someone this much power. You know, when we were building our house in Little Elm, we were by the book on everything. And our builder, we finally had a meeting with this city planner, or whatever he was, the final guy to give our stamp, right? And he's one of these just cunty guys with the little tiny circle glasses, and you can picture the type just with that.
Easy.
Oh, just the worst. And my builder said, show me in the paperwork where it says we need to have this. And he said, it's not in the paperwork. I'm saying you need to have this. So it's this is life-changing all the way through, but I can only imagine those 3 or 4 people who inevitably just go home and binge watch and do nothing with their life of absolute substance, come into work and go, how can I fuck up this guy's day to day?
I have this much power. Watch me wield it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow. He needs a torch.
oh, he needs.
So it is Cigar Talk. I asked you this question off air, but I'll ask it again. I always have a problem with my cigars going out. How can I improve that?
Don't talk as much.
I
don't think you can do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't sweat those people who are.
Then you got to smoke
black
Atabay or
screen.
something that just won't go out.
Yep. Don't worry about this. Okay, we're good. We're back. We're rolling.
So
okay, don't sweat that.
My
Don't-
new
don't
friend
sweat
John
that. That's
Wilson,
my foot.
who saw us the night on your show when we did the
Yep.
little impromptu.
came out.
He came out. We sat right here and had a cigar together, and he ended up having a good experience. It was great. But apparently he knows you very well because he said that he thought you were wearing a blue suit with a pink bow tie. And I could, knowing you as well as I do, I could
Did you see the graphic?
that you have that.
Did you see the graphic
Yeah.
from today? It was from the Derby.
Yeah, that was a good time. It was the Derby.
It was from the
That's where
Derby.
he got the pink bow tie at.
the seersucker suit.
Yeah.
Seersucker with the pink bow tie.
Yep.
That's right.
I'll be honest, that was fashioned by my wife because I don't have that capability. I need your services.
Yeah.
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 Maybe looking fly as hell.
Right.
Took,
Yeah.
Took care.
Stitch fix you up.
Stitch fix you up.
That's it.
So, Junior, you're quiet over there.
I am. I'm learning to be quiet sometimes to let other people talk. It's always good when people give you feedback in the moment. But when you actually take that feedback and apply it, that's when you know that it's actually working.
Give us some feedback, will you?
I'm talking about myself, so.
All right.
Because I learned, and I think some of the things is that, I think I've probably watched every show that y'all have. And I think I've watched, my show and things of that nature and went back and looked. And oh man, I wish I could have done this better. Oh, I wish I would have shut up here. Oh, I wish I would have done. And so I'm like over critiquing myself all the time to try to be a little bit better. But I'm also knowing that here, this is an in the moment place. It's just like you walk in with a plan and they're just going to throw it all out the window and go, nope, we're not doing this today.
Let me just go ahead and ease any maybe feelings that you have towards yourself. Is we want to hear you talk.
When
You're
you talk,
interesting.
people listen.
And
I am not
we
Ian
want to hear
Hutton.
Alex
You are Ian
talk.
Hutton, man.
Alex has such a unique, I think, your background, the fact that you put your balls on the table and had millions of dollars in escrow to buy the wrong juice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's just what a unique experience.
I've been fortunate to have a lot of very interesting people that have lived many lives more than me, and all I've learned from them is that you just never can plan what's going to come next because you never know what opportunity presents itself, and it's how you react and respond to it that makes a difference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I couldn't agree more. I think let's grab the shovel on that. Let's hop in because it's almost to our perspective there. That for sure is just got to go. But just think about that. Just think about having a plan, but how you react. Will you guys talk about a situation in your life and you express this and I think it's an excellent jumping point. And Junior, maybe you can grab the reins. Pops, maybe you can run with it too. Just think about a moment where you had the plan, you knew you had the solution, and then there was that little whoops-a-doodle and then you had to figure it out. But at the end of the day, you had to be true to yourself. You had to have the character make the right decision.
You remember Friends and Family? I had a plan. I planned that for months. I had it down packed. I knew what was going to happen with that. And I usually get about 30% of people don't show up. I think I might have had 30% more to show up.
So Friends and Family with Stitch Fix, they do this once a year, twice a year?
Twice a year, yeah.
Where you go ham on the whole
Yeah.
thing.
You go in the warehouse.
Yeah.
It's either $5 or $10.
It's like
Yeah.
supermarket sweep, right? People
Oh, it
just
is.
run like
No,
grab
it
if
was-
you can.
Yeah, you're actually getting our pricing at our store.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest thing was, number one, I didn't move the store, which I normally do. And so that was it. And I was fearful because I think we had 950 people in there that came through that day. And you can imagine when you saw all of that. And so my plan wasn't for 950. It was more or less for around 400 or something like that. And then I started getting into where I'm walking all these people off in here. And now I got to give a speech because now I'm thinking about the safety of everybody. And I'm like, oh my God, we could probably get sued if somebody get injured and things of this nature. And my team, that they weren't doing what I needed them to do. So it was just in a moment, but then trying to stay into that place to where I knew everybody was going to have to come to me. I had to make that decision. I couldn't show panic. And so that was, but I'm panicking in the background of like, oh my God, I got to do this, and this. But it was like when somebody came to me, it was like, I have to answer this question. I have to deal with them in the moment. And so that was probably my biggest plan, is that in the moment, you still have to be that person that they're looking to, because I had to lead them, but then leading a team of, man, I don't even think I had 30 people there with 950 people.
Holy moly.
That was an issue, and I want to make it bigger the next time. So I don't know what that looks like.
That looks like fire marshal approval.
Yeah. Fire Marshal Bill is the one that they need on that one.
So
Wow.
I mean, when we went there, we filled like this rolling rack. It was full. Couldn't put any more clothes on it. Clothes and jackets and purses. I mean, everything. And then the girl says, it's like $300. I'm like, no, I have that rack right there. I mean, she clearly missed it. No, that's it. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
one item could have been $300.
So Baptista.alex@gmail. Just go ahead.
Yeah. No, not one.
Got you.
One item. The Ale's got like these purses she brings back, and they still have the retail price on there. It's like $450, $425.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, we tallied it up. You guys took a
Thousands.
bath on this deal. I can tell you why.
Thousands.
It really wasn't. I think it's, one of the reasons why I love Katrina Lake, our founder, is that she's always trying to give, right? No matter what the state of the company is, no matter what this is, she wants to give. And I've really kind of taken away from, her philosophy when doing that. If it makes somebody happy, do it,
Speaking of just making people happy, I think this should, and Alex, we'll explain how this could and should make you happy here. We have someone who's very, very special to us that is checking in. Of course, we have John Wilson. Thank you for joining us. Zach Patterson, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. But we have Luciano, who is joining in with us. Luciano is a dear friend of the family, and someone that we all hold in the same equal regards of respect. Yes. They make people, and then they make Luciano. He's a different type of person. And he said, good drinks at the table, good evening. He made it safe to Boca. They drove from Las Vegas to Boca.
Wow. Okay.
This afternoon, just stopping to say, I love you. You guys keeping impacting our lives. Blessings. Luciano, Rachel, Becca, everyone sending nothing but love from Frisco.
Is this the same Luciano that braved the weather a few weeks back?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
See?
And we had a real special event. You were there.
Yes.
And probably one of the most impactful statements after spending time with Luciano.
Yeah.
And he rolls for therapy.
I do.
So does Luciano. And we got done, and I walked up and I go up to AJ, and I go, so what did you think? And he goes, I'm a better man because of
I
this.
am a better man
That's
because of him.
Yep.
it was an incredible experience. I mean, we were up till 1:45 in the morning. We just went and played
3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that night we went and sat back
That was
there,
a
and
special
it
night.
got deep, and we
That
just
was a special night.
When we sat in the meeting room,
Yeah,
that's
that
a
was special
life-changing night.
Yes,
that's
Yes. You can't explain that night to anybody.
You know, I think
you
this
can't.
is something that we as a society have forgotten about after 3 years in the pandemic, because I'm seeing it with like the business, like getting back in front of people, the fellowship of being in community. It's like you have to kickstart that motor, and after it, every time everybody's like, man, why haven't we done this more?
And I think to that point though, I think the reason Cigar Talk Live works, and I think we saw it that night with Luciano, is there is a conversation to be had that's beyond how's the weather.
Yeah.
And we got in it
6 hours.
and it was just I'll never forget it. And I think it was just to know that we created a vessel that was able to happen in gave me great pride. But it was it was an incredible night. Looking forward to him coming back.
Yeah, and it just comes down to surrounding yourself with people that you can trust to be completely open with, which is really what this show is, you know. And Jennifer, you know, she taps in saying that this is the first time she's heard about the corn whiskey story. So
Yeah, well, there's
it's
some
about being
things-
honest.
There's some things you don't give your wife the whole story of when she has anxiety.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. But I think there is something to be said to be surrounded with people who are different than you, from a different background, and to take chances. You know, and there are certain things that I said at the table. I went, okay, I would say those differently, meaning I've changed in my perspective and how I would approach this. Therefore, I'm a better person, because the next time I'm in this conversation, I'm a better person.
Yeah.
It takes 6 hours of conversation to get to that point, but you have to be willing to do it.
But now it's I look forward
yeah,
to
baby.
I look forward to Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Because I want
Fortaleza.
that to happen again.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So
And does this not, you know, I think this has ruined me, Tuesday nights, because I've become so disappointed with how's the weather conversations that I just tap out of them immediately.
I've started. I am fortunate that I get to meet a lot of new people, and I just spent the last week in Porto, Portugal, for work, and I've started not asking people like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." So I want to start differently. So I asked, like, "What do you want to be known for?"
Ask that.
I like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, that's a good question. What do you want to be known for?
No, I got you
You've
first.
thought about it. You son of a bitch.
This is his
I
question.
haven't, no.
You get an up, but this is Alex's
All
up.
right. What do I want to be known for?
Yeah.
What's up, Chris?
I want to be known as a man that has integrity, character, honesty, and trustworthy, and know that the people around me, I hope they understand that I have this innate desire to help, and whatever that is. You know, Jim Trader is on. We love you, Jim. He's fighting the fight, and that's with cancer, and I think he's kicked
strong.
its ass now the second
Cheers,
time.
brother, baby.
And we know that it's going to happen, and you know, just this innate desire to help, and I think that's where AJ and I we're, you know, two peas in a pod when it comes to that. We've had those kind of conversations, but I've always knowing what your therapy is. Whenever we get opportunities with Darren or Luciano or those guys, to me, I know that it helps you have a better life experience to get them in front of these guys. And you've spent hours in front of brand makers that, you know, that to me that's helping you progress.
What I love about this is I've watched the evolution of my dad's mindset here, because we asked him this question last year, and he said, I wanted to be known as a great father. And what this answer tells me is he's accepted that his role maybe is not done, but is satisfied. That he has made progress to the point where he's evolved to the point of what can I do for other people, which for me makes me feel great about having my dad, whose sole focus was kids, and then maybe got to a point of, hold it, I've raised men now. They're on their, they can stand on their own.
That was
they're
the
all
job.
right. Okay, now what's next? So for me, that's a very, as a son, is a great answer to hear. Is it's not, I want to be known as a great father, because if we're known as great men, then of course that's going to echo. You know, so that's our responsibility now. It's not your responsibility anymore. No, it's your responsibility for the family.
But I spent enough time with you guys to realize that the training wheel's been off for a long time.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and I appreciate that question.
You always get a weird look the first time you ask it, and you're like, I don't care about your name and where you grew up. I want to connect. Like, I want to bring that back into the fold.
Yeah, I agree. What about
what
you?
What does that look like? You know, when I sit back and think what I want to be known for, I mean, it's like what your dad said, right? Just being great, but I don't know what great looks like, right? And we can all sit in here and we can sit back. We know that it's hard being a man. Let's just be honest, you know. And I'm not taking anything from women, but you know that it's hard being a man because you got to be the breadwinner. You know, you can never be sick. You can never look weak. You can never do this. And when therapeutically I can walk in here and smoke a cigar, and I can sit there and look at Dave, and we never have to say anything, but we can shake our head, and it's like, I definitely understand what you're going through right now without you ever saying anything. I always want to be a little bit better to where I can listen more, because sometimes listening to other people when they're like, man, this was a rough day. I know it. Let's talk about it. You're not in this alone. And so I want to be better at listening more, and then at least having words of wisdom. And living those words of wisdom is the most important thing to me. I just didn't sit here and talk about it. But then if I'm not living it, if I'm not trying to be a better person, that's why I said Luciano was kind of one of those, you know, man, I'm looking at somebody that owns a brand and talking about all of this stuff. But then at the end of the day, I was like, he's human. He's just like me. He's just a man as well. And he goes through things also. And it's like, I appreciate the transparency that we can actually have with one another. I don't look at you differently. I understand what you're going through, and I don't take anything from that. So that's what I want out of my life, is to sit back and say, hey, are you better than you were yesterday?
Yeah.
Are you better than you were an hour ago? And if you can sit back and say, yes, you won.
Yeah.
You won.
Yep. What about you, kid?
You know, if you would ask me this last week, I would have said I want to be known as a truly great man on all fronts that I dedicate myself to.
Have you defined greatness?
I have, in the what, not the why. And Luciano, as we stay on his name,
Man.
he kind of messed that all up for me after a conversation in
Probably
Vegas.
in the best way possible.
In the best way possible. And this conversation, as I told him, this is a vector point of my life, and I'll never forget this conversation as we sat in Nestor Placencia's booth, and he knows I won't divulge any information. However, now it's requiring me this week and over the next couple weeks to redefine what that means. And I think today, as I sit in this seat, how I want to be known is someone who maximized their potential. Someone who saw what they were capable of and never fell short, whether someone was watching or not. It was someone who not worked hard, everyone works hard, not worked a lot, but understood their worth, maximized their value to others, and put in the work when no one was watching, and had the character to do the shit that people wouldn't do. So the person that I wanted to become and who I want to become was the person I was able to achieve. I think for me, that's what success looks like, as you ask me today on this day. But what do you think?
I've actually, ever since I started asking the question, I had to prepare for an answer. At the end of the day, I don't know, because I think it evolves every day. Today I want to be able to leave those around me in the world in a better place than I found it, and make an impact on other people's lives. And that's, people can talk noise about salespeople all they want, but the ability that I have to help my team get to a place that they've never seen. I helped 2 people on my team have their first 7-figure W-2 in the last year, and I said, like, what does that mean for you? And the first one told me I'm paying off my parents' mortgage, and that, like, the fact that
Substantial.
that was like, I've now been able to support him, that helped support his family, and you have this like force multiplier aspect to it. So I think what it distills down to for me right now is I just want to leave everything in a better place.
Yeah, well, you're doing it.
Trying.
And you've done it for our family. We've seen it firsthand.
But you got to really surround yourself with like-minded people too, though.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people that are more on the what can you do for me instead of what can I do for myself.
Can I take an up on this? Because I want to get your guys' feedback on this. Because I've become acutely aware that this might not be the right mindset. And I just want to get your guys' feedback on this. I'm at a period of my life. I'm in my early 30s. I've got 3 little kids, 2 businesses, no time to take a shit. But it's all right because I chose this life.
Depends.
There you
All right,
go.
never mind. You guys take your pants.
Your pants and walk around with a smile.
But I'm in this point where, and have been in this point for about 1.5 years, where I've started identifying people, maybe not all people, but the people who I've called friends as ones or zeros.
Okay.
Where the whole vector point of that and the whole qualifier is, are you going to add value to my family's life? Which could be my ICC family, it could be my wife and kids, it could be my Frakes family, the people who I'll ride and die with. I've been looking at them, which has required me to fire friends. You're not there. You haven't qualified. And if they're a 50%, they're a 0. And I don't know. I want your feedback. Is that an okay thing to do? Is that making a gray world too black and white of saying, yeah, you're not good enough? Or is that an okay perspective? And have you gone through a similar situation that you could elaborate on? Because I'm kind of struggling with this right now. It's like,
Are they adding value to your life? Let's start with that.
yeah, that's the end. Is
Are they sucking life from you?
life and energy, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's, if I have to ask that question, they're a 0.
Okay.
If
If
I
they-
have to reach out to them and I know there's not a conversation that can stack up to this,
Yeah.
that's a 0.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking bored with having little conversations about, oh, you remember the time in Omaha when we did this? I don't want bar stories.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing we've learned is if you can't get into the deep waters of conversation and be comfortable to swim, you're out.
What makes a friend? Probably would be my question on that, right? So, I'll use Dave, right? We haven't known each other that long.
Thank you, John.
But I consider him to be a friend. I don't talk to him every day. I don't see him every day. But I do know that in the moment, wherever I may be, he's going to have my best interest at heart. All right? Whether that's telling me I'm doing something wrong or if I'm telling him I'm doing something right, he's got my best interest. There's nothing else towards that. And I consider him to be a friend because I can value his opinion. But I don't have to talk to him every day. I don't have to see him. I don't have to go over his house. He doesn't have to come over my house. We can break bread, from time to time, and he can still be a friend. I saw that in the beginning with you guys when I first came here, because I just don't invite anybody to a friends and family. It was just like, I don't. But then I saw something that I wanted, because I'm like, these are people that I want around me all the time, even though I'm not around them all the time. But I know that if I come and be around them, I'm like, great, And quick story, Sunday I'm in here, 8 o'clock, Luciano walks in the door. I'm smoking a Dreamer. My first thing is I'm stuck because I'm in this aisle, right? I mean, you'd have to understand why I'm sitting here.
The next time he's in,
I'm
the
like,
next time.
we're about to do shots every time we say Luciano.
We're not gonna drive home. I can tell you
love that.
Yeah, so I can't believe it, right? My first thing I wanted to do, because I have this guy on, kid you not, I have him on in my top 9 contacts. Dave sitting right there was to, hey, Luciano just walked in, but I couldn't. And so a friend of mine that was sitting there didn't understand who it was that just walked in the door. So I'm trying to explain to him, and we're sitting there smoking and understanding. He's still 74. He just didn't really know, but he's learning this. And somebody else walked in, and I go, "Hey, Luciana's in here." And you could just look at the cameras. You could probably tell when we said, every time we said Luciana, because everybody was doing this right here. And he didn't truly understand it. But my first intent was, I wanted him to know. I was like, I gotta tell, but then I was so stuck. And then I was like, somebody's already called him or let him know something instantly. But then I felt a little bit because I was like, I need to speed dial to let him know, because it was something I knew that would benefit him. It was in the moment, whatever it may be. And he's sitting on that speed dial of, if there's something that he can benefit from or something that's gonna hurt him, I'm like instantly,
Yeah,
you ain't got to respond. I just need to make sure that you know that, hey, something's going on up here that you probably won't like. Tap into your whatever, or there's something up here that you may like. I know you're away from it. Check it out.
It's a 1.
That's a 1.
That's a 1. What do you guys think on the mindset?
I think that is so intensely personal. Like, that's what you're doing to get through your day and survive. And if that's your truth, you speak your truth. Others might feel differently, and that's great for them. At the end of the day, you have to figure out what works for you. The way I look at it is impact. Like, does this person making an impact on my life? Are they making me better? Are they getting me to a goal? Are they challenging me? Are they worth my time? I think we don't talk enough about time being the most finite, non-renewable resource.
That was the point I was going to make.
100%.
That we have.
Yeah.
And we spend too much time. Like, I always tell, I'm not trying to like blow out my wife, but like I always tell her, like, it's not worth getting mad over, because that means I'm investing too much time in a subject that isn't worth it.
Yep.
And so we joke that like she's like a firework where it's like and she's done, like she's moved on. She's like, what's for dinner? Me, I'm like the fuse at the beginning of Mission Impossible. It's like, it's gonna take a long time for that fuse to burn, but when it blows up, it blows up.
Yeah.
And there's probably a couple dead bodies.
Yeah. That's a Frakes way too.
I won't see anyone for a few days. Like, it gets bad.
Oh, oops, killed the wrong guy.
Yeah, but I try not to let the little things suck that time away from me that is so precious.
Yeah, especially if you understand at the beginning the value of whether it's worth it or not to get upset about it.
Right. And it doesn't always mean that you have to be greedy and you're saying like, well, it's about me. But like, I have a friend from back in like middle school. We don't get to talk as much as we used to, but the little time I do get with him, I find valuable. And it's not about take. Obviously, like, it's a give and take at all times, but it's a good investment, and there's always an impact in that time we spent together.
Yeah.
I
completely agree.
I think this was something that happened early on when Begley and I got married. Her family lives in Chicago, and if they had a problem, it could be anything from figuring out how to program their goddamn VCR, whatever it was, to the air conditioner just blew up, whatever it was. And it took me a while to adapt this philosophy, which is I can't make their problem my problem. Once I started living with it from that standpoint, the ones and zeros naturally takes care of itself, because the zeros that were always asking for stuff, never was it, hey, if you could just loan me 10 grand, I'll give it back to you. There was never the give it back to you part. It was just, if you could just give me the making everything one-sided. But as soon as I adopted, look, your problem isn't my problem. And in a sense, that's a zero asking for something. And I just went from gray to more black and white in that.
I'm glad to hear that, because we live in a gray world. Right? Everything is nuanced. Everything has different points of view and the right and wrong. But what I'm glad to see as I sit around the table with people I truly respect and look up to and strive to become, you have people who understand that value of time and impact is black and white. Am I willing to invest this time, this energy, whether or not they know that you're investing it or not, because they probably don't give a shit in the beginning. You can still be black and white with certain things. And for me, it is a bit of a relief, because I get to look at that and go, okay, we can still operate in the gray spaces, but there are areas where you need to go, this is either good or it's not.
I think it ebbs and flows. Like, you also have to have that conversation at some point with those people. Like, I think too often we get stuck in like I have this challenge with this person, I just don't want to talk about it because maybe it goes away, or maybe I'll just like push it down and not really worry about it too much. But it's incredible when you can like have the vulnerability to have the conversation with them and be like, listen, this feels like it's not working. Is it just me?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, thank God. Like, I've been feeling the same thing for months.
Yeah.
Like, we're intensely connected, like, species.
Yeah.
So talk through it. And sometimes you'll be surprised what people will reinvest in you after having that conversation, and what people are like, yeah, you know what? That's a great point. Let's part as friends and never talk again.
But you would think some people, if it's the right person, they have the right personality. If you explain this ones and zeros concept, and they are told that they're a
He
zero.
definitely needs fire. It's been like
Yeah.
3 minutes.
No, I think I got it.
So
Nope.
Oh, he's got it.
nice. Brings it back. Brings it
rescue.
back.
If you explain this,
But
is what you're
he
saying.
explained it. The question is, does somebody have the internal drive to want to be a one? What does it take?
You know, but then the question is, I think it's completely valid, but I want to play devil's advocate on this a little bit, is if they're not willing to be a one without the conversation, are they going to truly be a one long term?
That's true.
Right?
Well,
I mean, it's a zero, always a zero?
We're really
No,
good.
I don't think that's the case. One's a zero, always a zero. I don't think that's the case, because there are things that separate. Like if we look at someone say whiskey and industrial, like we both wish to be ones, but we can also sit at the table and go like, oh, you guys have been busy. We've been busy. We kind of drifted, but we want to be ones to each other.
Yeah.
So here we sit. So and it makes sense when you sit at the table.
Yeah.
Whereas the true zero, because we were never zeros. We were just kind of dormant for a little
Dormant,
bit.
yeah.
You know,
But there's your checkpoint, right? If they come out of that
Yeah.
and they go, I don't really get what you're talking about. You're like, all right, cool, heard. And
Gotcha.
you just move on with
Then you move on.
with your life. Yeah. Because like Pops and I sat down, I was like, look, we haven't been a good partner to ICC. We haven't done our fair share in our part. And he was like, at times we haven't. So
Right. Yeah.
there was a desire to go forth and make it better.
but that's ones.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's you drift away from certain friends and different people,
But
but
that's being transparent too.
It's being transparent.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is open
Yeah.
and honest. You know, I know what I haven't done. I know what you haven't done. Can we come to an agreement on this? Maybe we can. Maybe it's not the right time. You know, maybe it's a year from now that, you know, let's re-entertain this later. But as long as you're transparent, I think that's probably going to be the biggest things of, you know, them being a one.
That's
You
that's
know.
the biggest thing, is having that transparency with courage to talk about it. Because like, I think humans are really good about filling in the blanks with things that are viable. Like that could be the truth. And when you sit down and you check yourself and you say, hey, the story I'm telling myself is it's like this. It's the conversation I had with Pops. I was like, hey man, I just want to check in. This is the story I'm telling myself. And he said, why do you feel that way? I spoke my piece. He's like, I could see that. Here's what I see. I was like, that's a really good point. And it's about being able to recenter on reality instead of just the story that we tell ourselves internally.
Yeah.
yeah. And as the human condition, you're going to fill in the blanks with whatever is best in your own best interest. There's nothing you can do with that.
Right.
And I'm specifically speaking about a situation that happened inside of our family, that we had a similar situation where you're going to go, well, this is the gap. This is where I would likely put this because this then makes me right, or whatever the feeling is. But if you have sturdy enough relationships to go, here's where I thought I was here, and you go, well, that wasn't it, or that was it, or I see you there. Like the conversation we had in the hotel room, you and I, talking about, here's where I think you were wrong. I didn't think about that even a little bit. Oh, you're right.
You're right. It fills in the blanks.
But it's trust. It has to be built on a relationship with people you trust. And if you surround yourself with people you don't trust, that you can't trust that they're going to tell you the truth from the first place.
And
Boy,
that's
it's all
how
bullshit.
that's really how this came together, because of this evil demon we call social media is there. And someone say whiskey is a social media platform, which ICC, please join. Someone say whiskey. But it was a perception that was created from social media that created just a partial picture. Yeah. And we just had to get in and let's just wipe the window off and let's see what is really happening here. We found out really at our core, our motivation from 4 years ago is the same motivation we have today. We just kind of lost our way. But there was a word that was thrown out here a minute ago, desire. As long as both parties have a desire, and that's a lot of times where people fall down. They just don't have the desire.
Yeah.
I had a situation today with a rep. I knew how I would do it. I knew how I would deal with it if I received the text that I sent this guy. I was waiting for it to happen. Never happened. He didn't have the desire. It's just easy to lay down, fall down, be done with it. But I gave him all the opportunities to pick up the phone and call and say, let's fix it.
Never
Didn't.
did.
Now I know what the guy's made of.
Yeah.
I had an idea, but I just know I've been in situations where if somebody says, this is where you've fallen short on what our expectations are in doing business, I'm there the next day, we're going to fix this. And if somebody doesn't come in and stand up and say, I screwed up, or willing to say that, then it doesn't work. We both just kind of had this, we both agreed that we didn't do what we needed to do, and let's do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just,
and we'll walk before we run. And by the way, the people who are chiming in, Jennifer, your sweet wife, Wayne, coming in. These guys are putting comments like this. So I'm not reading. I mean, I'm reading them, but I'm not right. I'm not reading them out loud because you do not want to hear this. But Luciano, I cannot tell you thank you enough for your kind words. And he talks about the level. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I need something to drink.
your glass is really empty.
That's now the.
You have a
think of that
fundamental
tequila, by the
problem.
way?
Oh, Fortaleza.
Fortaleza.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, the winter blend was really, really good this year.
So with that being said, we have some excellent comments coming in, and Blake has tossed out some excellent comments, but he talks about something that almost challenges what we are talking about here, which is, he says, zeros can be saved by moments like these, a space in which they don't feel judged or vulnerable. We can have an effect on people's lives without speaking to them directly. If you have a platform and lead obediently, the outreach is infinite. And I appreciate you saying that. And I think it is interesting, but it's almost,
Those are pretty big words.
it's almost counterintuitive to what we're speaking about, right?
Was that where did
He
they get
copy and
toilet
pasted
paper?
it off the internet.
And to that is, well, actually we'll do a shot here, because what Luch was saying is there are levels of friendship. So we gotta drink to that now.
Yes.
Yep, for sure.
There are levels of friendship. There are levels of, some people are only going to get to that superficial, shallow level, but they're going to get superficial, shallow, extra time. They're getting the extra credit time. They're not getting the real time.
Yep.
They'll get the, hey, we happen to be in the same place and I got some extra time to kill. But it is interesting to think about where someone's value meter sits.
Well, and I also think like the value meter has to be based on a couple of different factors. Like I read a really interesting article about like the categories of people that you keep in your life, and there starts with people who look to you as an inspiration. You become a mentor to them. You bring them up in the world.
Yeah.
They're the people who are at your level where you can enjoy the same things to the same degrees, travels, whatever it might be. And they're the people who are above you that you aspire to become. They become your inspiration to bring you up. And when you have those three categories in any sort of imbalance, you either feel stuck, you feel like you're being dragged down, or you feel like you're not good enough. So it's about having a balance of those friendships as well. Yeah.
Well,
you
Cigar
ever
Talk
walk
Live
into-
does a good job of humbling us all out, because we sit with better people than
For sure.
ourselves.
So the question is, and I ask myself this, do we ever walk into a situation as a zero, or do we walk into a situation as a one? Because obviously if I walk in and I'm like, the situation is new and I'm giving it a zero, am I giving them the benefit of the doubt?
Will you play that out? Because I can understand that a couple of ways. Will you play that out with some sort of hypothetical narrative to that, as far as expecting it to be a zero, or you yourself enter something as a zero?
Well, and I'm kind of piggybacking off of what Dave just said a little bit earlier, right? He turned around and said, I know I sent this out. I knew what I was going to get back, so he already anticipated. I already know what's going to happen on this, so it's already there. Would it have been different if it had changed and they would have actually responded?
No.
But you understand what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
It's like I send out a message, or I know that if I call somebody, I know that they're not going to pick up, or I'm already expecting for this to be a 0 right off the bat. I ain't giving benefit of the doubt because maybe it's the person that I am dealing with.
I mean, the way I try and think about it is I can't control what others do, but I can know what I did. And so if I reached out to see if there was something there and I didn't get anything returned, at least I tried. At least I did my part in the equation.
And so we feel good about ourselves.
But you know what? But it's really, it's interesting. I see a couple of different things here. Whereas what you're saying is kind of the recipe for bitterness for the person who enters a situation expecting a 0. Those are the Karens. Those are the people who, well, I know it's going to be this way because whatever. Those are the people you don't like being around.
Right. Maybe those are the people that I'm sitting here trying to eliminate out of my life, right? Maybe that's...
And can it end up turning into something where you try to eliminate everyone out of your life? If you get trained into thinking everything's a 0.
I mean, it's about coming in with a perspective on it, right? If you're coming in expecting... I think there's a thing called confirmation bias where you're just like, you're walking in a situation saying, man, I know nothing's going to come out of this. And when nothing does, you're like, man, see, I told you. And that trains you to always have, I try to live in a positive mindset, expect the best, prepare for the worst. But that is an inverse of it. You're almost like, there's nothing I can do to save this. And then does that mean you can really go into it earnestly saying, I came into it with the right mindset and I did everything I did I could.
Yeah, and to your point is how do you approach that? Because you know you're going to give it, but if you're going to give yourself a 0.5
right,
and go, well, I mean, I tried.
Well, the way I look at it, I was just paranoid about everything. I'm just like, I'm pissing everybody off. Nobody likes me. And then I'm going to do everything I can to change that. But that's not healthy either. I'm not going to say that that's the right solution, but it's what I found to be myopic about trying to make sure I add value in the lives of others around me. And if that doesn't end up resulting in something that's an ROI, a reciprocal value add back, then I just go, okay, well, I tried, and I move on, and I say, we part as friends. They're friendly, they're not friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Friendly, I like that.
But like I said earlier, like everybody's different. Everybody's going to handle these things for what works within their life.
Yeah, and I think even bringing that full circle to what you just said of identifying ones and zeros and entering situations, as you said, if you know who you are and how you define success and how you define who you want to be and what your character is and what you strive to be, if you enter those with your very clear North Star, you approach situations different. I may be due him to say thank you, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Right.
And if I've committed to the fact of saying, I'm going to do it whether he says thank you or not, then we're cool here.
Yeah.
And you have your piece of how you handle the situation because you know who you are. Is that kind of online with what you were saying?
I'm just, I can only control my own actions. I can't control others. I don't have expectations for the others. I will just give until I've recognized that it has become a leech, not a tax.
You can't control the situations that you put yourself in.
I
And
can't
I think
control
that's what I'm big on too, is making sure I don't put myself in a situation that they're gonna tick me off or get me out of character and things of that nature. And so we control that. So even with this, anyone that's close in our life, whether it's a wife, a brother, a sibling, or whatever, we put ourselves in that situation.
Welcome in.
Right. We put ourselves in that situation, right? Because, again, it's Dave. I already know I already know how he's going to act. And I walked into that situation with, that I knew that he was going to act this way. Now, if I knew that, am I prepared for it? Because sometimes I'm like, I'm ready for the fight. Maybe I'm ready for the fight. Now I've gotten out of character because I already know how he's going to respond to it. So I'm going in here, what's the reason why I want to go into this fight with them? Where it may be that I really don't, I want to get them to see my point of view, and is fighting the way to do it, or because it's the person, or do I turn around and say, this is my point of view and this is it and we're good, and they could scream, but you don't have to scream too. I always tell people when I'm talking to people and I'm giving them stuff that I know they're not going to like in that moment, right? They have the right to turn around and I tell them when I start, Dave has the right to say, hold up, AJ. I know what you're saying to me you think might be coming well, but I'm not receiving it well. can we start this conversation over, or can we go take a break for a minute so I can kind of get my mind around it a little bit?
I wish more
maybe
people
come
utilize
back?
the break thing. People feel like everything's got to be solved.
everything's got to happen right now.
in the moment. Sometimes
in
it
the
takes to
moment.
just be like, hey, look, I'm not in the right mindset to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, work sucked, families and shambles,
Well, you don't care.
whatever.
That's what you get. Well,
Right.
you don't care.
Yeah.
Well, you're not.
Yeah, you're exactly right. As a
Example
matter of
defense.
fact, this just happened today because Josh came in to work for Mike because he called in sick today, and I was up here and I was busting his balls, and he goes, "Not today, please." It's like, oh, but you have to have that self-awareness to
Yeah.
go, "Oops, my bad.
Yeah.
I overstepped here. I shouldn't have made that joke. That's my bad." You know, and at least be, hopefully humble enough to read the situation
Right.
and not continuously
Poke and
disregard.
prod, yeah.
Poke, prod, the whole thing.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed with you, Pops, is as of the past maybe couple years, is I've noticed maybe it's the pressure cooker has released the valve. I don't know what it is, but your approach and view on life has changed. I've noticed the way that you enter those situations, as AJ says, is now there are certain situations we know they're going to be zero, but you've definitely approached more with a one mentality walking in. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
What is
No,
the
I
change
think
that you've
about-
seen?
I mean, we've had situations where we've had to fire customers, and
Top spender.
but I knew that it was the right thing. So where normally back in the day I would be very nervous about the conversation was going to happen, I never felt more comfortable because I knew in my mind what had to happen.
Yeah.
And as long as you go into it with a calm, cool demeanor that doesn't allow somebody to get their guard up, and you can kind of break through and let people see here's the issues that's causing why we're having this conversation, and just speak very calmly about it. Because I think when it's a conversation that's maybe not going to go the way the other person wants it, they have a tendency to see that early, and the guard comes up and they're ready to fight. And once you can get them to just drop their guard for a minute and listen, then and just understand the point of view. I think the other thing too is I realize that there's two sides, sometimes three sides to every story, and I in the old days would kind of get stuck on one side of the story and react in that case. So I think just forcing myself sometimes to step out and just kind of let the play finish.
Is this something you've learned in the past 2 weeks?
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
I think I
What changed?
naturally. Well, I think naturally it was there, but I've always had this. I've always been in sales, so we're wired to overcome objections. When you realize sometimes there aren't objections to overcome, just kind of when you realize you're the linebacker on the other side of the field, the play's running in the other direction. I'm just going to watch it from here, and just kind of let everything finish out, and then see what happens.
We went through single-handedly the biggest challenge our family has had. I mean, we obviously when
You guys
Nick,
have seen some adversity.
we've seen some adversity.
Yeah.
But adversity that has only had one option, which is to bring us together. We've seen adversity that could have broken us apart. And had it been handled incorrectly, we were all had the same that wasn't going to happen, but it had that opportunity. And we had a shitstorm of the last 2 weeks. But it has been such a learning. I expected us to be in this position last week. We weren't. But now we're here. And we've all learned through tremendous. It was almost easier when Nick died.
Yeah.
When Nick died, death was easier to go through than what we went through. Because death is so definite. And you know what happens. This is the process. But this that we went through had nuance and human elements, and how do we keep the family as close and as tight as ever, and how do we do this? And we've got 3 points. That's when you said 3 points of view. There are 3 points of view. So how do we understand it? And that's one thing that I've learned is understanding your role, and friends, and understand as we kind of back that in is like, why are our friends who have degraded from ones to zeros, why are they zeros? And have they intended, or maybe their path has just taken them away that we're going to go. So we're on the back end of what was definitely the most challenging couple weeks of my adult life, on top of all the adversity that we've come through. And
do you feel like you're fully on the other side, or?
No, we're getting there.
Okay.
All of the important stuff is there.
Do you feel like you learned something through the process and are stronger now?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's just the reality that bolts come loose.
Yes.
And then you just,
one person can't put them back together.
And one person can't put it back together. It takes everybody to tighten the bolts back down. But then when it's tight, it'll be tighter than ever. And that's that. And not only is that what you want, but in this situation, that's what has to happen. And I think loss from death is bad, but loss of living family and the potential of creating separation is a disaster that I don't know that anything can be worse. In my opinion, if you care about family, and that's what makes our world go around.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
I agree.
I think it
100%.
seems like y'all realized that the separation part was not an option. You take that off the table.
No.
It doesn't matter what it is. This right off the bat,
has to
you
fix.
walk in that conversation saying, "This is off the table. I don't care whatever else, but this right here is off the table." Now we go and we fix everything else. What we got to fix.
You know what was interesting is that conversation of what you said was only between Pops and myself. That whole, and maybe you spoke about that with Begley. It's like, this is off the table, but that hasn't been said, to my knowledge, outside of the four walls of that room.
I feel like that's something that doesn't happen enough in relationships. Like, divorce rates
Clarity.
are well over 50%.
Clarity.
Yeah.
And I think too many people go into, like, divorce is an option.
Right.
But if you don't make it an option, it's incredible how you'll be able to find solutions.
Right. Exactly.
Doubt.
Exactly.
No doubt.
You guys got drinks, right?
Yes,
Sir.
Okay, good. Well, Luciano said this. When we talk about being successful or greatness, we always talk about a destination to go or a summit to get to, a stage. Over the years, I've noticed it's more about how we live, the way we go, rather than a destination. So success, friendship, greatness is measured by collective experiences, attitude, and how you deal with pain and suffering. How your values stand during challenges, how you choose to love over hate. And I think that sums up beautifully our past 2 weeks is when I say we, I say I, specifically I, had the perfect opportunity to be bitter and hateful and dismissive and that. But because of the unit that is the Frakes family and how we operate, it was never an option. Divorce was never an option.
Yeah.
And I'm distinctly proud to sit here tonight and sit here with you guys and Luch on the other side. And there he is.
That it is again.
And say cheers to all of you. Cheers to everyone to be a part of this process. Cheers to you, Blake Deal. You're over there dropping monster comments over there. Wayne Ferguson for helping this
Truth
set up.
bombs.
I got a few bombs up here.
Yeah. Farts he's talking about.
Yeah.
But
You know what? That good help it filters in here.
We talk, and you
can I
always
steal that fire from you?
talk about how you're trying to grow into this man that you're wanting to be. And with me on the outside looking in, you're already that man. I need you to recognize that you're already that man. You're going to build up off of what you are right now. You have the values, that which is the key to doing it. So take the age out of the equation. Just mindful of that. It's gone, because you've made decisions in your life that have developed you. You've been a good father, good husband, a good brother, a good son, whatever it is. You've been doing that. In your mind, though, you're still, and I don't know why in society we're like, well, you're you know, you're 30 something, and you know, I haven't learned life, but I feel like you actually have. Now, Pops is always going to call you kiddo. And you're going to always, it doesn't matter. You could be 50 some years old, and he's going to be like, hey, kiddo. But you have to realize that people are going to look towards you as a man because you're already there. So that growth and development that you're looking for, you're living that every day.
Well, first off, thank you for those kind words. They resonate, and at some point I will accept that as the truth. Not there yet. We will.
Yeah.
But it's because of this.
But I feel like that's what keeps you striving to get there.
Yes.
You haven't accepted that fact.
I hope
You may never.
I hope we don't. You know, I hope we don't as just for the people who we surround ourselves with. There's always going to be someone, and I love the word you use, impact. There are always lives you can impact more. So it doesn't have to do with, it has nothing to do with being greedy of impact and making sure one person can pay off the other mortgage of their other parents' house. No. It has to do with fulfilling your potential. You know, and I think that's, if we stay hungry in this, at the end of the day, we joke around what Cigar Talk Live is. What Cigar Talk Live is for us to sit here, for my dad and I to get into real deep conversation with people we love and we trust and we really, truly respect. That's what's happening now. And I accept it.
It just happens to be on the internet. But other than that, we would have this conversation
It opens
anyway.
up regardless. I'm thankful for the people who join us for this. I understand the trajectory where I'm at. I'm good with that. I'm probably outpacing those other 33-year-olds in the same
By a long ways.
in a position. But at the end of the day, you can only compete against yourself, right? You can't compete against the others.
It's like
and
golf.
I think
You're playing the course. You're not playing each other.
Exactly. And that, I think, is what I so enjoy about these conversations, is it has nothing to do with everyone else. It has only to do with yourself and making yourself better. And that is what is truly rewarding, is having the character to push yourself to be the best person you are. And that's what I see with you. And that's what's so infectious with you.
Yeah.
That's the way people truly enjoy seeing. People enjoy sitting with you. I enjoy seeing you come around the corner because I know you're in here not to smoke a cigar, but to become better than you were when you left.
I think that there are people like AJ, like Alex, not as much as you should, by the way. Just dropping that.
I feel like I already know where this is
I know where this is going.
But I think we're fortunate because so many people here have a desire to be the fabric, part of the fabric of ICC. And there are not people in here that are utility smokers. I don't want to smoke in my backyard. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to smoke a cigar because it's a place I can smoke a cigar. People they legitimately want to be a thread in the fabric of this organism we have here. And you have it in your social media environment too, with someone say whiskey. You have a community. But that's the thing that when I see you, when I see Craig, when I see people that are genuinely the fabric, that we can say, this is why ICC is better. Not because of what it looks like, but because of who's in it.
Yeah, who?
And that to me
The who and the
is a huge thing. And you just want to surround yourself with it.
One of the things I've struggled with as a leader on that concept is like I said, my desire is to impact other people, to bring people together. Like that's what we wanted to build with SSW, is a place where people can have connectedness, where they can feel like they can be themselves, a sense of community. It was really important during COVID, which is where we exploded. And now coming out of it, we're seeing different behaviors from people. World's opening back up. They're getting out. They're doing things. That's great. I think part of our challenge is like reframing to what does now success look like? And then also, where do we invest the time in those people? Like we have 15,000 people in the group. Reality, we have 200, 300 people that we can really count on and say they're a part of the fabric in that community. And I struggle with, how do I get to the others and affect them and bring them in to see what I hear. Fortunately, every week people will inbox to me and say, I'm so glad you built this community. I've been going through a divorce. This was the perfect thing that helped me feel connected. I'm like, great. I know other people are dealing with similar challenges and need something like this. How do I get them to like come into
Engage.
the fold?
Engage.
But
I don't know the answer, and it's something I struggle with every single day.
But I think there's an acceptance element to it, almost to the ones and zeros conversation.
Yeah.
Is you can only do what you could do.
yeah.
And the fact
Field
that
of
you
dreams, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, and the fact that you're thinking about that, it imprints itself into the fabric of the community. Yeah, there may be 200, 300, but if you get to 400, that's a massive jump.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, those are 400 lives and families that are impacted by that. So what I would say is, yeah, if you have 300 who are there and 14,700 who are there, but they watch it, you can only do what you can do. And you can't lose sleep over the 14,000 that are not as active, because as you continue with that correct model and character, they're either going to catch on or they're not.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe in what you're doing. I believe in the people you surround yourself with. I mean, and they feel that as well. So all I've got to say is just keep kicking ass, and they're gonna catch on or they're not gonna catch on.
You know, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit, right?
Yeah,
And I don't
please.
normally disagree with you, but I do feel like you can do a little bit more, right? Disclaimer to everybody that's actually watching this is that there's no teleprompter over here. All right, this is live. This is every day. This conversation that's happening right now is when you walk in here. Conversations are like this all the time. And so when I say that you can do more is if I see somebody that's kind of out of character, whether it's a Craig or whoever that may be in here, I'm going to take it up on myself to go sit next to him. That's doing a little bit more. That's like, okay, I don't have to start. I'm going to try to start a conversation with you. I'm going to try to get you out of that element because I'm used to and I want to see the best out of you. And some days when we come in here and believe it or not, I have a lot of days like that. And it's like I'm in here and I'm like, I just want to sit here, and then I'll start with a conversation with somebody, and then I forget about it, and then I go out, and then I'm driving down the tollway and was like, that wasn't bad at all. This day that I sit here and thought was crappy was not bad at all because I'm talking to somebody, and they've sit there and just changed my whole mindset. So, but I want to make sure that I'm doing the exact same thing with them. And like I said, those conversations are like daily. And it's the weirdest thing. You cannot walk in this place and not say, I left with a bad experience. I don't care if it's 3 people in here. There's no way. I've never seen a place where people walk in here and everybody walks around and has to speak to everybody in the place before they sit down or before they start smoking. And it's like, I want to recognize that I do see you. I understand. I know you're here. I see you. And I think that's probably the biggest thing.
So how would you do that? Because here, it's easier. Because I can see Blake, I can see Wayne, I can see you. But they have a virtual community that is exceptionally, it's unbelievably strong. So how would you do that from a digital world, I mean, at the end, it's a Facebook group, but it's a community.
Right.
You know, it's
we
something
we have
that
the struggle that like we have a vast majority of the people in the Metroplex, but they're all around. And like, if there's anything I know about Dallas people, it's like, they're like, that's more than 20 minutes away. Oh man,
Yep.
I gotta walk my goldfish tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can make it.
I got
And
a
it's tough
thing.
because
Yeah, I
we're
got it.
trying to like put things together. Like we have an event tomorrow at Bobo's in Allen. That's like a happy hour, and like we got probably about 50 people, and that's a huge success for us.
Yeah.
But if you could look at the opposite. It's like, well, you got 15,000. Like you're not even touching 1% or a fraction of 1%.
Right.
So that is the challenge of like staying true to your roots, bringing community together in a place where I think when we get online, it's like ADHD. Like I know I doom scroll through fucking Instagram for hours and I'll just get lost in it because like digital, you can get so disconnected from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's different, you know, it's different what you offer. And maybe asking, you know, maybe that is something we do often here. Is
Yeah.
What can we do? What should we be doing?
What can I do?
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because like about that, Netflix will give you like the fake, like the preview of something.
Yep.
And you're like, I just left it on. I didn't necessarily even want to do it, but it'll give you like a 30 seconds on it. There's a show called New Amsterdam. It's a like medical drama, like ER type of show. And didn't know anything about it, didn't care anything about it, but the little 30-second clip was about the medical director of the hospital coming in and saying, all I want to know is how can I help? And that's his question he asks every single show across.
Oh, I've seen this. I've seen that where he stands up in front of it
he's
and he
just
goes,
like, how can I
here's
help?
how we're changing things.
And it's like, that's the thing that I've been like really like wrapping my mind around with my team for work, with my friends and family, with the Someone Say Whiskey community. It's like, how can I help? Like, we have this reach. What can we do to make an impact on your life?
Have you gone live and asked that?
I have, but we got jokers, we got everybody.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people also like, I think to the point of like the story we tell ourselves, like there's a lot of things that people don't know.
Yeah.
And it's really hard in a community to see everything. And so they'll have a perspective and I'll say like, I hear you. And I'm not trying to discredit it, but there are some things you might not be aware of, A, B, and C. And they're like, yeah, that would be hard for you to do that then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we try and take suggestions. We ask for feedback all the time. And I think sometimes that's gotten us in trouble in the broader sense of bourbon communities because we actually care about people's perspective and we invest in our own personal finances and our time and our energy. And then we see others that don't have the same belief system that we do. And they look at that investment and us caring and they're like, man, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You guys are dumb. Like you're censoring, like all those things. But really we're trying to do the opposite. But it ends up just being different, and different isn't always like you guys are different as a community. Industrial Cigar is different than every other cigar shop I've walked into across the United States.
And nobody will ever understand that until they actually come in.
No,
gotta feel
we can tell you that.
yeah. And even if you tell, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But then you come in, John Wilson walks in and he sees the difference. Like people have walked into you were telling me, people walk into other cigar shops and they get cold shoulders. They get like the clickiness. Hey, that crew's sitting over there. Don't try and talk to them.
Yep.
And you don't know until you experience the alternative just how special something like that might be.
I would agree.
And I think that's relying on partners. I think that's relying on other people to help share your vision. And I think that's, from our perspective, there are no whiskey groups like Someone Say Whiskey. I don't have a ton of experience with it.
Yeah.
But I know who you are. I know your character. I know Alex and Gary. These people I believe in, right? And what I think you've done a good job is, call it censoring, but you're curating a community.
We're just trying to build a place where there's room for discussion. I think the thing about the internet is it's really good place for you to speak in definites and like, this is how it is. This is right. This is wrong. To the black and white comment. But in reality, there's gray. And all we want to do is paint with the full color palette of options and say like, I understand where you're coming from. Here's my perspective, it's a little different.
Yep.
And it's a different way of saying like, that's trash, that's garbage, you're wrong, that's dumb. That's the kind of stuff we want to walk away from is definites and leave room for the conversation around perspectives and opinions because that's where you learn. We learn from each other more than anything else.
Yeah.
I would say you said you got about 50 people coming tomorrow. And I know we said about 15,000 that you have in this group, right? I would focus on the 50. All right, because that would be the biggest thing. Me focus on the 50 and let them get a message out.
Yeah.
And then just grow it from that way because it's successful. I got 50 people.
Yeah.
That's successful.
Solid.
You really don't understand how successful it is that you got 50 people to come out now, giving them the message. And then just even the next event, hey, you bring one. Now I'm up to 100. And you grow it that way to get to your 15,000. Don't focus on how many you actually have.
That's a good
Focus
point.
on the small group and let them turn and get the message out even better because they've experienced it. It's kind of the same way, and again, we talk about here, right? And you walk in here, is that I can go to other lounges and things, and like you say, you're gonna get the cold shoulders. You're gonna get people on their phones and things of that nature, don't wanna talk to you, give you that you don't belong here type, vibe. But then you come in here and they don't know you, I feel like you and our relationship right now is because
going
of them.
deep. I live a mile away. You're probably gonna be in my house in the next month. I'm calling it right now.
Because I know that they don't surround themselves with just anything. And so, and I know that the people come in here, it's the same way, when I haven't seen anybody get kicked out of here yet. Not saying it may never happen, but I've never seen it, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then it's not something that you continue to talk about of, hey, we've had to kick, hey, we haven't did, we had to, and it's not this, it's the atmosphere is just something totally different. Yeah. So take your 50 tomorrow and make that atmosphere so great that they're going to go away like my experience with Luciano. That I'm my mouth is open and Dave's up there trying to close it like, hey, close your mouth. This is something that goes on all the time. You need to close your mouth about it, And so just focus on those 50 and grow from there.
And they will.
That's it.
Yeah. That's real talk. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, I know we normally go into the judgment zone, but both of these guys have been through it.
They've done it.
But the difference is, I don't know that people, because Alex was on early, but Alex was actually a ghost hunter.
Okay, so we're going into ghost stories to cap this show off. We're going to finish it on a light zone. You were a ghost hunter.
Casper. Yeah, that was the name of our team.
Oh, that's right. It was an acronym.
Citizens for the Appreciation of Spectral Phenomenon from Extraterrestrial Realm. Yeah, realm.
Wow.
Look, so
tell me how drunk they were when they came up with that name.
Casper. Okay, so what is Casper? It's
Citizens for the Appreciation of Spectral Phenomenon from the Extraterrestrial Realm.
There's a lot more words there than there are letters in Casper.
So many.
That would not fit on a coffee mug.
Don't buy a vowel.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing you just went with Casper because that wouldn't fit on a mug.
We didn't have 15,000 people, by the way.
On the side of on Ghost, are you +5 or -5 on Ghost?
I'm a +5 on Ghost.
Okay, good, perfect. We're all probably +5 sitting here. Will you tell your best Ghost story to cap us off?
Which one would it be? It would probably be the hotel one because that one was the one that was like
in Florida.
It was in Florida. Yeah, it was in Orlando because that was the one that I think people expect ghost stories like to be very cut and dry. To be like, oh my God, I saw a entity that presented itself in front of me in a humanly form, and I said, "Grandma," and she ran away. Like that kind of stuff. Like it's not always like that. So I was staying at a hotel in Florida. The typical double bed, 2 queens situation. My habit is always I throw my suitcase, throw my stuff on the second bed, throw my laptop bag on the table. Did all that. Fell asleep watching TV. Turned off TV, threw the remote on the other bed. I wake up 2:30 in the morning. TV's on, volume's all the way up. I'm like, man, I can't believe I rolled over on the remote, turned it on, turned the volume up. So I get up, I go grab the remote off the other bed, turn the TV off, go back to bed. A couple hours later, when you leave a phone off the hook and it gets that fast, like like dial tone signal, pops up. I'm like, oh man, like something fell off my bag, hit speakerphone on the phone, walk over, turn speakerphone off, go back to bed. Wake up the next morning. That was it. Wake up the next morning. I'm doing my morning routine, let's say, also known as taking a big shit.
There we go.
AKA.
I'm processing data, and I'm like, wait a minute. I remember waking up, and the TV turned on because I rolled on the remote. But the remote was on the other bed because I had to get up to turn it off. So that couldn't have worked. So then it starts to get me thinking. So I walked out. I looked to see where my laptop bag is. It's a good 3-4 feet away from the phone. Nothing around the phone that could have turned on the speakerphone by any means. I'm like, okay, something doesn't add up. So I start researching this hotel. That room, that floor, dude jumped from the window, killed himself in like the 1940s or something like that. Most haunted hotel in Orlando. I was like, oh wow.
That room.
It's always that room, right? 13th floor. Yeah. It was like the 26th floor. But yeah. And I was like, oh, well, shit. I think that was like an app. Like, I don't know. You have to be pretty close-minded to say there's no such thing as ghosts. There's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as Sasquatch. We had that one too.
Yeah. You listening up, Adrian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta assume that there's a possibility of these things. And if there's a possibility, then if you have something that can't be explained, can it go into the possibility category? And so that was probably the one for me. And I ended up telling my wife about it, and she was like, I would have left right there. I was like, well, clearly I was fine. Like, it wasn't a big deal. I just got super drunk the next day, and I was like, I'll sleep through whatever ghostly thing's going to occur. Anyways.
Do you have a ghost story?
I do not have a ghost story like
we take
that.
you downtown. We'll get you some ghost stories.
We'll get you.
There's Goatman's Bridge in Denton. There's the old Shriners Hospital. That's where we had some crazy shit happen. Like I was a bad kid.
Casper.
I've had some demonic
So-
stories, but that's like
You have a demonic story?
Yes.
We don't need that before we go to
We're
bed.
definitely
Cap that
not gonna
off.
get into those.
We need to keep
but
it light.
that's
We got
The
holy,
next
we got
time.
holy
Yeah.
water.
So today my wife comes up and our neighbors are skiing. She took a picture and sent it to Begley, and so she came up and she goes, look at this picture. What do you see? I said, I see Weston and they're skiing. She goes, no, look at the tree. So I look at the tree, and she goes, look, it's a bear. So if you look at it, it looks like it's a bear, but it's actually the way these leaves are coming off of this tree that looks like a bear is peeking around. She goes, that's how this Sasquatch shit works. It's just like trees and things like that have that, that
Squatch is real,
trademark
dude.
branch.
Yeah,
Squatch
She's
is
like,
real.
she
I'm
goes,
sorry.
she's like,
No
say it
way.
has the trademark, the thing where he's walking like that. I go, but honey, that was a video of the thing walking like that. It wasn't, they weren't taking a picture of a tree.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of a creek and it was walking, and they have video. Oh, you guys are full of shit.
How could it persist across so many different disconnected cultures? Like
Over
China
centuries.
has a version of Sasquatch.
Yes, and actually,
How many
Panda
different
told us.
countries? How many different countries if we had people here and we throw out Sasquatch and we don't know what they call it in your country and they have a name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's an out of focus, fuzzy individual.
Yes, it's a,
Which is why it is so hard to
Blurry.
capture him on video.
Yep, couldn't
Modern
agree more.
cameras are trying to focus on it. F-stops, they're a pain in the ass.
yeah. Sometimes you just can't get it dialed
can't
in,
do it.
and there it is.
And he's already out of focus.
And William
Always.
Treadway, you need to be on the show because he legit saw a Civil War soldier crawl across the road. You have an invite.
Crawl? Yeah. Hashtag need to know more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag this show's done. With that being said, gentlemen, thank you
Thank you.
so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us.
I
This
must
is
say,
Cigar
by
Talk
the way,
Live.
we talked about pairings. I don't know what your cigar is. I have the
Southern Draw, Rosa Sharon.
Sharon.
Yep. It pairs beautifully with a port. This port wine is phenomenal with it. I've gone across the spectrum. I know we're going to be doing more of this stuff. We're going to be doing more cigar pairings, do cigars of the month for the SSW and ICC crew. And we will be doing these more on Fridays. I told Pops, I'm committed to come out and do this because this is awesome experience to get to try different cigars and different spirits. We're going to invite people to come out and do them with us. Then we'll push the cigars out to the individuals.
with
But
that.
this one particularly with this Ramos Pinto Port 10
You need to see how it goes with that nice, sweet, dark DC.
This cigar is very, very tasty.
Was there one of the spirits that paired better with it?
I'm good with all of them.
The one that it's a liquid. That's
Maybe
it.
you need to
yeah.
splash a little of that port.
I do need to. I do need to try, but we're doing that off cam, gents. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to empty glasses.
Salud.
Cheers. Empty mind.
Thank you all for joining us. Love, peace, and chicken grease. We out.
And the crowd goes wild.